So hey guys, I'm back. I've continued all along the line here until where I needed to stop. I'll just show you all along the line. And I'll show you can see the ombre effect it gives when you use a variegated color. So the purple comes out the best, I would say. There is a pink one that turned out pretty good, this one here. Can't really tell on camera, but it looks pretty cool. And so I stopped here with the blue, and I'm about 1.5 inches from the end here where it splits into the two headphones. So I've stopped here because I like to continue using all 4 skeins until I reach the end where I can knot it, and that's what I'm going to show you. So I'm just going to continue, go all the way down using all 4 colors. It just keeps it tighter and makes the knot easier to do. So I'm just going to continue to do that. So once you get to the point where you've got about enough room for one more knot, that's when I decide to tie my knot. So I'm just going to take my string and make it however long you want, but long enough that you can tie a few knots with. I'm just going to cut my string about here. And you can take your string and just set it aside because you're going to be using the rest of it to do the top part where your earbuds are. So I just like to take this, and I usually split up the string, so I'm just going to take, since I have 2 blues, I'm going to just put a blue and a pink and a blue and a purple together. And if you're wondering why I have 2 blues, because technically you could do it with just 1 blue and just repeatedly use the same blue over and over again. I decided not to and to switch every time because I knew that I wouldn't have enough string using 1 blue skein. So I used 2 because usually when you get halfway through an earbud, you have to add new string and then you have to tie a knot to the other one and try to cover up the knot, and I find it's just easier if you use 2 skeins if you're using the same color over again. So that's just a little tip in case you're wondering why I was using 2 skeins. So I separate the strings. If you have 3, you can do 2 and 1, or it doesn't matter how many colors. And I just tie some knots. Usually do 2, just like we did in the beginning. Do on one side, and I try to do them over top of the part we just did, so not quite on the part that's left yet. And I'll turn around and do another knot. So I'll just kind of secure the end where we finished. You can see that I still have that little space left. So now I'm going to take both and do kind of another knot, which is just the Chinese staircase knot. Fill that space in, split them up again, just repeat what we just did. Once you feel you've kind of secured it enough, there isn't really any technique to tying the knot. I just like to make sure that I know it's secure. So I think that's pretty good. You can kind of see there's a few knots there. And it makes it pretty simple. And basically I'm just gonna take these ends and use my needles, which I have in this little package here. I'm going to take my needles and take one out. And then these actually came with the kit I bought. There's a big package of skeins, and these actually came with them, so this is kind of cool. And I think it's easier to tie the knots with them instead of just cutting them off. I like to kind of weave them through some of the old knots that we did, and then seal them off with some clear nail polish. So with your needle, you're going to put it through the hole. I just like to hold them flatly as possible. It's a little tricky since there's a bunch of strings all put together. So I just try to do it as good as possible. So now that I have that through the hole, I'm going to take it and find a spot up here somewhere. that I can push it through. And go on this side. So I found a spot. Make sure you have a little bit coming at the end. And I'm just going to pull it through. Okay, so it's pulled through there. Now I have to do that with the other two I have here, the blue and the purple. This part you don't have to do. I just find that it kind of gives me more peace of mind when securing it with the nail polish, that I know that it's not going to come apart. Because without it, all you have are the knots that you tied before, and with this it's like kind of almost sewn through pieces that you've already done. I like to have the two ends come out close to each other because I'm going to be sealing them off with the nail polish. So if they're close together, then the nail polish is kind of in one spot instead of two. Sometimes it gets a little tricky pulling through depending on how thick that area is. So I pulled it through. It's either coming out relatively the same spot. I'm going to grab my scissors. I'm going to cut them as closely as possible to the surface there. You can see they're cut off there. So now I'm going to grab my clear nail polish. The trick when picking a clear nail polish to use this for is making sure that it almost makes like a crusted outside, so it actually gets hard and seals it. This one kind of gets like rock hard and seals it on the outside. So I just kind of paint it over. Paint it all over. Kind of clump it on. And then I like to take some more nail polish and go around the knots you tied at the bottom. Sometimes if they're sticking out a bit, if you wait till they dry a little bit, they kind of become sticky, so then you can stick them down. You can see it's kind of sticking out just a little bit. So basically that's what I do for my knots. And now I'm going to show you how to start off the earbud parts. And just make sure that you let that dry.